Welcome, brothers and sisters. Many blessings and love to you all today. My name is Jermaine Felton, and today we'll be reading out of Genesis, the 40th chapter, verses 1 to 23. Today we'll be reading about Joseph interpreting two dreams. With that being said, let's start today's reading. Sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended their royal master. Pharaoh became angry with these two officials, and he put them in the prison where Joseph was in the palace of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for quite some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, who looked after them. So we see right here in verse 1 and 3. The cupbearer and the chief baker were two of the most trusted men in Pharaoh's kingdom. The baker was in charge of making the Pharaoh's food, and the cupbearer tasted all Pharaoh's food and drink before giving it to him, just in case any of it was contaminated or poisoned. These trusted men must have been suspected of a serious wrong, perhaps of conspiring against Pharaoh. Later, the cupbearer was released and the baker executed. And let's continue. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed that both looked upset. "Why do you look so worried?" he asked them. And they replied, "We both had a dream last night, but no one can tell us what they mean." "Interpreting dreams is God's business," Joseph replied. "Go ahead and tell me your dream." So we see in verse 8 that when the subject of dream came up, Joseph focused on attention on God. Rather than using the situation to make himself look good, he turned it into a powerful witness for the Lord. One secret effective witnessing is to recognize opportunities to relate God to the other person's experience. When opportunity arises, we must have the courage to speak as Joseph did. Let's continue. So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream first. "In my dream," he said, "I saw grapevines in front of me. The vine had 3 branches that began to bud and blossom, and soon it produced clusters of ripe grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's wine cup in my hand, so I took a cluster of grapes and squeezed the juice into the cup. Then I placed the cup in Pharaoh's hands." "This is what the dream means," Joseph said. "The 3 branches represent 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift you up and restore you to your position as his chief cupbearer. And please remember me and do me a favor. When things go well for you, mention me to Pharaoh so he might let me out of this place. For I was kidnapped from my homeland, the land of the Hebrews, and now I'm here in the prison. But I did nothing to deserve it." When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given the first dream such a positive interpretation, he said, "Joseph, I had a dream too. In my dream, there were 3 baskets of white pastries stacked on my head. The top basket contained all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, but the birds came and ate them from the basket on my head." "This is what the dream means," Joseph told them. 3 baskets also represent 3 days. 3 days from now, Pharaoh will lift you up and impale your body on a pole. Then the birds will come and peck away at your flesh." Pharaoh's birthday came 3 days later, and he prepared a banquet for all his officials and staff. He summoned his chief cupbearer and chief baker to join the officials. He then restored the chief cupbearer to his former position so he could again hand Pharaoh his cup. But Pharaoh impaled the chief baker, just as Joseph had predicted when he interpreted his dream. Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph and never given him another thought. So we see in verse 23 that when Pharaoh's cupbearer was freed from prison, he forgot about Joseph. 2 full years passed before Joseph had another opportunity to be freed. We see this in Genesis 41:1. Yet Joseph's faith was deep, and he would be ready when the next chance came. When we feel passed up or but overlooked or forgotten, we shouldn't be surprised that people are often ungrateful. In similar situations, we should trust God as Joseph did. More opportunities may be waiting. And that's where we'll end today. And I hope that today's reading helps you out today. Read it by yourself and get a better understanding of what God is trying to tell you. And I pray that you have a great day. God bless.